is basically just icing sugar. And then with that goes 250 grams of butter, softened or melted. Mine was cold, so I had to put mine in the microwave to get it to a stage of which I could actually mix it properly. So you mix these until it becomes like a smooth sort of paste. You can use a whisk or go a lot faster, but for relaxation purposes I've slowed things down a little bit. Then we're going to need the yolk of 1 egg. And we're going to beat this into the mixture as well, mixing thoroughly. To this, we're now going to add 2.5 cups of plain flour. As usual, I'm not measuring. And we also want about half a teaspoon of salt. And we combine all of this together. And this should make up the basis of our dough. One thing you can do is, because these biscuits are quite good at Christmas, is you can grate some lemon rind or some orange rind, or add any sort of flavouring, if you will. It's a really simple dough that you can adapt to make any kind of biscuit really that you fancy. So I need to get my hands into it and start kneading it into a decent dough. If it's quite dry and very crumbly, roll it onto the paper as well. So take some greaseproof baking paper and roll out your dough. I'd say you need it about half a centimetre thick. Half a centimetre to a centimetre. And then we're going to take our little gingerbread man cutter, little biscuit man cutter, and cut the dough basically. And then we can transfer him onto the greaseproof paper that we've put on the baking tin that we've prepared. Take care trying to get him out because it is quite a fragile dough. He's not very malleable. Then we're going to do the same again. But this time using a different cutter. In this case, I'm using a bone. If you don't have cutters, you could just use a knife. As you see later on in the video, I've done a skull, and I didn't have a cutter for a skull, so I just cut it out myself. Different size bone. Now we put them into the oven at 160, and I don't really know how long you leave them. I'd say about half an hour. But as you can see now that they're ready, it's just when they start to go brown around the outside edges, that's when you'll know that you're ready to take them out of the oven, and then you leave them to cool. They need to be completely cooled down before you start decorating them. So I like decorating my biscuits with icing sugar. So icing sugar, basically you just mix with water, not very much water, you don't need, and then I put it into one of these empty sort of squeezy sauce bottles. You can buy proper piping bags, but every time I've brought them I end up losing all the nozzles and everything, so I just find this method a lot easier and I've got more of control. So you want to have the consistency of the icing sugar for icing quite thick because you want it to dry quite fast and without running. The trick is to not get the icing, not have it running over the edges, because then your cookie's going to look really messy. So what I like to do is I'll do the outside consuming. But if you're artistic, then it's very enjoyable, and it's always nice to make things like this so people can see you've made an effort to do. Whenever a friend of mine has a birthday or a child's birthday, I'm always making loads of cupcakes and biscuits. Again, we're just going to set him aside to give the icing a chance to set before we start adding colour. Here's one of the bones. And then we've got a little mini bone here. You can buy all of these cookie cutters and things online. There are shops that just sell thousands and thousands of different ones. And they're really cheap too. They're like, I got these from an American website, and some of them were like 60 cents each. I've got so many different kinds. This one came in a dog set. I've got kennels and all sorts. So it's just showing you the different ones that we've got to decorate. So now the white set, I haven't left it to set the whole way. They are in fact still a bit wet, but I was impatient and wanted to get on with decorating. So I mixed up basically another batch of icing sugar and water, and then added a little bit of food colouring. This is I think it's Tate and Lyle food colouring, a black one. So now I'm going to start with my zombie. I hadn't really thought out how I was going to decorate them. It's all a bit spur of the moment. I've never drawn a zombie or certainly never decorated a zombie biscuit before. So I'm just doing like ripped jeans, like torn off clothing, made one of his eyes too big and it sort of ran. So I'm just trying to blow on the eye at the moment to try and make it set so they don't join. Sadly they do join. And now I'm just doing a ripped shirt. Some hair. Yeah, the eye in the mouth looks terrible there. Luckily I have another one. And so now I've mixed up some red. Same again. Icing sugar, water and food colouring. And this is my blood and wounds. It's a bit gory really, isn't it? But it is Halloween, so I'm allowed to be. He needs lots of blood obviously because he's dead and he's been eating people. As does his little zombie friend here. Walking in blood, everything. I'm actually quite proud of them, considering they were a sort of spur of the moment thing. And then yeah, just some bloody bones to go with my little creepy assortment of biscuits. And there we have it really. Here are my Halloween cookies. Really easy to do and a bit of fun as well.